The day started like any other on Earth. People went about their daily lives, unaware that everything was about to change. In New York, London, Tokyo, and cities around the world, millions of humans rushed to work, grabbed coffee, and checked their phones for the latest news. High above the planet, in the secret control room of the International Space Station, astronaut Sarah Chen floated weightlessly, sipping her morning coffee from a sealed pouch. Her eyes scanned the various monitors showing different views of Earth and the surrounding space. Suddenly, a red light began to flash on one of the screens. "What the?" Sarah muttered, nearly spilling her coffee as she propelled herself closer to the monitor. Her heart began to race as she realized what she was seeing. A massive object, easily the size of a small moon, had just appeared at the edge of Earth's orbit. Sarah's hands flew across the communication panel. "Houston, this is the ISS. We have an unidentified object in orbit. I repeat, unidentified object in orbit. This is not a drill." Down on Earth, in the control room of NASA's Johnson Space Center, Flight Director Tom Rodriguez was about to end his night shift when the urgent message came through. He stared at the screen in disbelief as data from the ISS poured in. "My God," he whispered. Then, snapping into action, he hit the emergency alert button. Alarms blared throughout the building as staff rushed to their stations. Within minutes, similar scenes were playing out in space agencies across the globe. The European Space Agency, Roscosmos, and the China National Space Administration all confirmed the presence of the alien craft. As news spread, governments worldwide declared states of emergency. In Washington, D.C., President Elena Martinez was woken by a frantic Secret Service agent. "Madam President, we need to get you to the Situation Room immediately," he said, his voice tense. President Martinez quickly dressed and was escorted to the White House's secure underground bunker. There, she found her top military and scientific advisors already gathered around a large table, their faces grim. "What are we looking at?" she asked, taking her seat at the head of the table. General Michael Wong, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, stood up. "Madam President, at 600 hours, a massive alien vessel appeared in Earth's orbit. It's unlike anything we've ever seen before. Our best estimates put its size at roughly 1,000 kilometers in diameter." Dr. Aisha Patel, the President's chief scientific advisor, chimed in. "The technology required to build and move such a massive structure is far beyond our current capabilities. We're dealing with a highly advanced alien civilization." President Martinez took a deep breath, trying to process the information. "Have they made any attempts to communicate?" "Not yet, Madam President," replied the Secretary of State, "but we expect they will soon. The question is, what do we do when they do?" As the discussion in the White House continued, similar conversations were happening in capitals around the world. In Beijing, President Lai Wei called an emergency meeting of the Politburo. In Moscow, President Anastasia Volkov consulted with her top generals. In New Delhi, Prime Minister Rajesh Singh addressed his nation, calling for calm. Meanwhile, on the streets, chaos was beginning to unfold. As news of the alien ship spread through social media and emergency broadcasts, people reacted with a mix of fear, excitement, and disbelief. In Times Square, New York, thousands of people gathered, their eyes fixed on the giant screens showing live footage of the alien vessel. Some prayed, some cried, while others cheered and waved homemade "Welcome Alien" signs. In a small town in Kansas, Farmer John Baker stood in his cornfield, staring up at the sky with his old binoculars. He couldn't see the ship, but knowing it was there filled him with a sense of wonder and dread. As the hours passed, the world held its breath, waiting for the aliens to make their move. Scientists worked frantically to analyze the little data they had, while military forces around the globe were put on high alert. In orbit, Sarah Chen and her fellow astronauts on the ISS had the best view of the alien ship. They took countless photographs and measurements, transmitting everything back to Earth. "It's beautiful," Sarah whispered, gazing at the massive, sleek vessel through the station's cupola. Its surface seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly iridescence, defying all known laws of physics. Just as the tension on Earth reached a fever pitch, it happened. A message, broadcast on all frequencies and in every language, echoed across the planet. People of Earth, we come in peace as representatives of the Galactic Empire. We wish to speak with your leaders about integrating your world into our grand civilization. The message was short, but its implications were enormous. Humanity's first contact with alien life had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The alien message echoed around the world, leaving humanity in a state of shock and wonder. In the hours that followed, governments scrambled to respond. Scientists worked to decipher more about the alien technology, and ordinary people tried to make sense of this new reality. At the United Nations headquarters in New York, an emergency session of the General Assembly was called. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered, their faces a mix of fear, excitement, and determination. UN Secretary General Amina Okafor stood at the podium, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Today, we face the greatest challenge and opportunity in human history. We must decide how to respond to the Galactic Empire's message. The future of our planet hangs in the balance. As debates raged in the UN chamber, a different kind of preparation was underway at NASA's Johnson Space Center. Dr. Emily Zhang, a brilliant linguist and exobiologist, led a team working to create a universal translation system for communicating with the aliens. We need to be ready for anything, Dr. Zhang told her team as they worked tirelessly. Their language, their concepts, even their way of thinking could be completely alien to us. Meanwhile, in a top-secret military bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Wang met with an elite group of soldiers and scientists. We need to be prepared for the worst, he said grimly. If these aliens turn hostile, we may be humanity's last line of defense. Back in Washington, D.C., President Martinez sat in the Oval Office, watching live feeds from around the world. Reports of panic buying, religious gatherings, and even suicide cults flooded in. She turned to her chief of staff, David Chen. We need to address the nation, she said. People need to know that we have a plan. As the day wore on, the alien ship remained silent, looming over the Earth like a silent sentinel. Astronomers noticed that smaller craft had begun to deploy from the massive vessel, taking up positions around the planet. In a small village in rural India, young Priya Patel watched the sky with her grandfather's old telescope. She gasped as she saw one of the alien shuttles zoom past, its sleek design unlike anything she'd ever seen. "Grandpa, do you think they're friendly?" she asked, her voice filled with a mix of fear and excitement. Her grandfather, a retired physics professor, patted her shoulder. "I don't know, child. But this is a moment that will change everything. We must face it with courage and curiosity." As night fell across the globe, the tension continued to mount. In London's Trafalgar Square, thousands gathered for a candlelight vigil, singing songs of peace and unity. In Rio de Janeiro, people danced in the streets, celebrating what they hoped would be the dawn of a new era. Just before midnight, Greenwich Mean Time, another message came from the alien ship. This time, it was a request for a face-to-face meeting with Earth's leaders. The UN Security Council convened an emergency session to decide on Earth's representatives. After hours of heated debate, they selected a diverse team. President Martins of the United States, President Lai of China, Dr. Aisha Patel, the renowned scientist, and Dr. Emily Zhang, the linguist. As preparations for the meeting began, Dr. Zhang made a breakthrough with the translation system. "I think we've cracked it," she announced to her team, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "We should be able to communicate with them in real time." The chosen representatives were taken to a secure facility where they underwent crash courses in xenodiplomacy and possible alien customs. They had less than 24 hours to prepare for humanity's first face-to-face encounter with extraterrestrial life. As dawn broke on the day of the meeting, The world held its breath. News channels across the globe counted down the hours, while social media exploded with theories and speculation about what the aliens might be like. In orbit, a small Earth shuttle prepared to dock with the alien mothership. Inside, President Martinez turned to her fellow representatives. "Whatever happens in there," she said, her voice firm, "we stand united for Earth." The shuttle's docking clamps engaged with a soft thud. The door to the alien ship began to open, bathing the Earth delegates in a soft, otherworldly light. The moment of first contact had arrived. The alien ship's doors slid open with a soft hiss. President Martinez led the Earth delegation into a vast, shimmering chamber. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with colors the human eyes had never seen before. In the center of the room stood three tall, slender figures. Their skin was a pale blue, and their large, almond-shaped eyes glowed with an inner light. The tallest alien stepped forward. "Welcome, representatives of Earth," it said, its voice melodious and calm. "I am Zor-El, emissary of the Galactic Empire." Dr. Zhang's translation device worked perfectly, allowing seamless communication. President Lai bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. "We are honored to meet you," he said. "We come seeking peace and understanding." Zor-El's expression remained unreadable. "We have observed your planet for many cycles," it said. "Your species has potential. The Empire wishes to offer you a place among the stars." Dr. Patel couldn't contain her curiosity. "What exactly does that mean?" she asked. "What would joining your empire entail?" The alien's eyes flickered. "You would have access to our technology, our knowledge. In return, you would accept our governance and contribute resources to the greater good of the empire." President Martinez felt a chill run down her spine. She exchanged glances with her fellow delegates. This wasn't an invitation. It was a thinly veiled demand for submission. "We appreciate your offer," Martinez said carefully, "but Earth values its independence. We're not ready to be governed by an outside force." Zor-El's eyes narrowed slightly. "You misunderstand. This is not a choice. Resistance would be unwise." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Dr. Zhang's fingers flew over her device, double-checking the translation. There was no mistake. Back on Earth, billions watched the exchange on live broadcasts. In New York's Times Square, the crowd that had been cheering fell silent. In Beijing's Tiananmen Square, people huddled closer together, fear replacing excitement. In the White House Situation Room, General Wang slammed his fist on the table. "I knew it. They're not here for peace. They're conquerors." President Martinez took a deep breath. She thought of her daughter, of all the children on Earth whose futures hung in the balance. She straightened her back and looked Zor-El directly in the eyes. "We understand perfectly," she said, her voice firm. "And our answer is no. Earth is not for sale or conquest." A murmur ran through the alien delegation. Zor-El's companions stepped forward, their faces showing the first hint of emotion. Surprise. "You dare defy the Empire?" Zor-El asked, its melodious voice now tinged with anger. "You are but one primitive world. The Empire spans galaxies." Dr. Patel stepped forward. "We may be younger than your civilization," she said, "but we've faced countless challenges. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive tendencies. We will not bow to threats." President Lai nodded in agreement. "Earth stands united in this. We choose freedom." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then, to everyone's surprise, one of Zor-El's companions spoke. "Fascinating," it said. "In all our conquests, we've never encountered such spirit." Zor-El shot its companion a warning look, but the words had already been spoken. Dr. Zhang's mind raced. Conquests. This implied the Empire had faced resistance before, and crushed it. President Martinez seized the moment. "We are not your typical conquest," she declared. "Humanity has a strength you haven't accounted for. We suggest you reconsider your approach. On Earth, Cheers erupted in every city. Strangers hugged each other, united in their defiance against the alien threat. In orbit, astronaut Sarah Chen wiped away tears of pride as she watched the broadcast. Zor-El's eyes flashed dangerously. "You have made a grave mistake," it said. "The Empire does not tolerate rebellion. You will submit or face the consequences." As the Earth delegation prepared to leave, Dr. Patel noticed something strange. The alien technology around them seemed to be reacting to their presence, pulsing with an odd energy. "Wait," she said, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "There's something here we're missing." As she reached out to examine a nearby console, a spark of energy leaped from her fingers to the alien device. Alarms began to blare throughout the ship. Zor-El and its companions stepped back, genuine fear now visible on their faces. "What have you done?" Zor-El demanded. The human delegates looked at each other in confusion. They didn't know it yet, but they had just stumbled upon a power that would change the course of the confrontation and the future of Earth itself. Alarms blared throughout the alien ship. The walls pulsed with urgent red light. Dr. Petal stood frozen, her hand still outstretched towards the alien console. Energy crackled around her fingers, forming intricate patterns in the air. "What's happening?" President Martinez demanded, looking from Dr. Petal to the terrified aliens. Zor-El's voice trembled as it spoke. "Impossible. You've activated the ship's central matrix. But how? Your species shouldn't be capable of interfacing with our technology." Dr. Zhang's translation device struggled to keep up with the rapid alien chatter. She caught fragments about dormant genes and ancient protocols. Her eyes widened as she began to understand. "Dr. Patel," she said urgently, "I think you've unlocked something within yourself, something the aliens didn't expect humans to have." As if in response to Dr. Zhang's words, holographic displays sprang to life around them. Strange symbols and diagrams filled the air, swirling around Dr. Patel like a cosmic dance. Back on Earth, instruments around the globe went haywire. At NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, scientists watched in awe as their devices detected a massive energy surge from the alien ship. In the White House Situation Room, General Wong leaned forward, his eyes glued to the incoming data. "What in the world?" he muttered. Meanwhile, on the alien ship, Dr. Patel found herself understanding the swirling symbols. Knowledge flooded her mind, the secrets of faster-than-light travel, energy manipulation on a galactic scale, and more. I can see it all," she gasped. "Their entire civilization, their history, and ours." President Lai stepped forward, his face a mixture of concern and wonder. "What do you mean, and ours?" Dr. Patel turned to face the Earth delegation, her eyes glowing with the same inner light as the aliens. "We're not as young as we thought. Humanity, we're descendants of an ancient advanced civilization, one that rivaled the Empire in power." Zor-El hissed, its composure completely shattered. "The precursors, but they vanished eons ago." "They didn't vanish," Dr. Patel said, her voice resonating with newfound authority. "They seeded worlds, including Earth. We are their legacy." President Martinez struggled to process this revelation. "Are you saying we have the same abilities as them?" she asked, gesturing towards the aliens. Dr. Patel nodded. "Not just the same. If I'm understanding this correctly, we have the potential to surpass them. Our ancestors built safeguards into our DNA, powers that would awaken when needed." As if to demonstrate, Dr. Patel raised her hand. The alien technology around them responded instantly, screens flickering to life, doors opening and closing at her will. Zor-El and its companions backed away, genuine fear evident in their movements. "This changes everything," Zor-El said. "The Empire will not stand for this. You must be contained." But as the alien reached for what looked like a weapon, Dr. Patel merely waved her hand. The device crumbled to dust. "I don't think so," she said calmly. "I suggest you reconsider your position, Zor-El." Humanity is not your conquest. We are your reckoning. On Earth, something extraordinary was happening. As news of the confrontation spread, people around the world began to experience strange awakenings. In a small village in Africa, a young boy laughed in delight as he found he could move pebbles with his mind. In a bustling city in Japan, a businesswoman gasped as she suddenly understood the complex mathematics behind space-time manipulation. Reports flooded in from every continent. Humanity was awakening to its true potential, triggered by the alien threat and Dr. Patel's activation of the ancient protocols. Back on the ship, President Martinez stepped forward, her voice filled with newfound confidence. Let me make our position clear. Zor-El, Earth is off limits. We are not your subjects, and we never will be. In fact, I think it's time you left our solar system. As if responding to her words, the ship's engines began to power up. Dr. Patel nodded, understanding the ship's systems as if she had built them herself. I set coordinates for the Empire's homeworld, she said. It's time you delivered a message for us. President Lai smiled grimly. Tell your leaders that Earth is not only defended, but we are now awakened. Any further attempts at conquest will be met with the full force of our newfound powers. As the Earth delegation prepared to leave, Dr. Zhang turned to Zor-El. We would have welcomed peaceful contact, she said softly. Remember that when you tell your empire why their conquest failed. With a flash of light, the human representatives vanished from the alien ship, transported safely back to Earth by their newly awakened abilities. They left behind a stunned alien delegation and a message that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Empire. Humanity had discovered its hidden strength, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Light years away, on the central planet of the Galactic Empire, alarms blared in the grand hall of the Imperial Palace. The supreme ruler, a towering figure with shimmering, multicolored skin, sat upon a floating throne, surrounded by holographic displays showing incoming data from Earth. Impossible, the ruler muttered, its voice echoing through the cavernous chamber. How could a primitive world possess such power? Zor-El's ship had just arrived, broadcasting an urgent message that sent shockwaves through the Empire's leadership. The Supreme Ruler called for an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. As representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in the Grand Hall, Zor-El stood before them, recounting the events on Earth. The council members listened in stunned silence, their expressions a mix of disbelief, fear, and curiosity. The humans, Zor-El concluded, are descendants of the precursors. Their dormant abilities have awakened, and they now possess technology that rivals or even surpasses our own. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The precursors were a legend, an ancient race said to have seeded life throughout the galaxy before mysteriously vanishing. Many had dismissed their existence as mere myth. The Supreme Ruler raised a hand, silencing the council. This changes everything, it said, its voice grave. Earth cannot be allowed to remain free. Such power must be controlled for the good of the Empire. A tall, willowy alien with gleaming silver skin stood up. But how? It asked. If they truly possess the precursor's power, a direct confrontation would be disastrous. We must be clever, said another council member, a small reptilian creature with multiple eyes. Perhaps we can infiltrate their world, turn them against each other. As the council debated on Earth, humanity was grappling with its newfound abilities. In every nation, people were discovering incredible powers. Some could manipulate energy, others could read minds or see glimpses of the future. Governments struggled to maintain order as society underwent rapid changes. In Washington, D.C., President Martinez addressed a global audience. We stand at a crossroads, she said, her voice firm. Our world has changed forever, but we must not let these new abilities divide us. United, we can forge a bright future among the stars. Meanwhile, in a secret facility beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Patel worked tirelessly with a team of scientists, decoding the vast repository of knowledge she had accessed on the alien ship. "It's incredible," she told Dr. Zhang, who had joined her team. "The precursors didn't just give us powers. They left us a roadmap to rebuild their civilization, to surpass it even." Dr. Zhang nodded, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "But we must be careful," she warned. "The Empire won't give up easily. They'll be plotting their next move." Back in the Empire's Grand Hall, the debate raged on. Some council members argued for immediate military action, while others advocated for caution. The Supreme Ruler listened to all sides, its mind racing. Earth's awakening posed a threat to the Empire's dominion, but it also presented an opportunity. If they could harness the humans' power, the Empire's rule could extend to new galaxies, new dimensions even. Finally, the ruler raised a hand, silencing the council once more. "We cannot rush into this," it declared. "Earth must be studied further. We will send covert operatives to infiltrate their world, to learn the full extent of their abilities." A sly smile spread across the ruler's face. "And then, when we understand their power, we will take it for ourselves. The humans think they have won, but they have merely delayed the inevitable." As the council meeting adjourned, ships were already being prepared for the secret mission to Earth. The Empire's best spies and scientists were selected, each given the task of blending in among humans and gathering crucial intelligence. Little did they know, Earth was not as unprepared as they thought. In her laboratory, Dr. Patel suddenly sat up straight, her eyes glowing with an inner light. "They're coming," she whispered, her voice carrying a hint of the vast knowledge she now possessed. "The Empire hasn't given up. They're sending spies." Dr. Zhang quickly tapped a communication device. "Alert the President," she said urgently. "We need to prepare our defenses. The next phase of this cosmic chess game is about to begin." As night fell over Earth, its inhabitants slept uneasily, their dreams filled with visions of cosmic wonders and galactic conflicts. Humanity had claimed its place among the stars, but the true test of their newfound power was yet to come. 6 months had passed since the awakening of humanity's hidden powers. Earth had changed dramatically. Cities now boasted gleaming towers of impossible architecture, vehicles zipped through the air without engines, and hospitals could cure almost any disease with a touch. In New York, the United Nations headquarters had been transformed into a massive structure that seemed to defy gravity. Inside, representatives from every nation gathered for an emergency session. Dr. Patel stood at the podium, her eyes glowing with the knowledge of 1,000 civilizations. "We've detected the Empire's spies," she announced, her voice echoing through the chamber. "They're scattered across our planet, gathering information on our capabilities." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. President Martinez stood up, her face grim. "What do you suggest we do, Dr. Patel?" Before Dr. Patel could answer, the room darkened. A holographic map of the galaxy appeared, showing Earth as a bright blue dot surrounded by the vast expanse of the Empire in red. "We have 2 choices," Dr. Patel said, her voice calm but firm. "We can wait for the Empire to make its move, or we can take the fight to them." In London, a man with silver hair and piercing green eyes watched the UN broadcast with interest. His name was Zorak, one of the Empire's top spies. He tapped a hidden device in his ear. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. "The humans are considering offensive action. We must alert the Supreme Ruler immediately." But as Zorak reached for his communication device, he felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Dr. Zhang smiling at him. "I'm afraid that won't be necessary," she said. With a wave of her hand, Zorak found himself unable to move. Similar scenes played out around the world as Earth's newly formed psychic defense network identified and neutralized the alien spies. Within hours, they were all in custody. Back at the UN, the debate raged on. Some nations wanted to launch an immediate attack on the Empire, while others advocated for a more peaceful approach. Finally, President Lai of China stood up. "We have the power to destroy the Empire," he said. "But should we? Are we not better than them?" A hush fell over the assembly. Then, slowly, President Martinez nodded. "You're right," she said. "We shouldn't conquer. We should liberate." Dr. Paddle smiled, her eyes twinkling. "I was hoping you'd say that," she said. With a gesture, the holographic map zoomed in on various planets. "These are worlds the Empire has conquered. Their people suffer under imperial rule. We can free them." The assembly erupted in cheers. A plan was quickly formed. Earth would send emissaries to these oppressed worlds, offering them the knowledge to awaken their own hidden powers. In orbit around Earth, a fleet of sleek ships materialized, their designs a perfect blend of art and advanced technology. Volunteers from every nation boarded these vessels, ready to spread the message of freedom across the galaxy. As the fleet prepared to depart, Dr. Patel and the world leaders gathered in a secret chamber beneath the UN building. Before them stood the captured Imperial spies, including Zarak. "You will carry a message to your supreme ruler," President Martinez said, her voice filled with authority. "Earth is not just off-limits. We are now the protectors of this galaxy." Dr. Paddle stepped forward, her eyes glowing brightly. "Your empire has a choice," she said. "Step down peacefully, or face the combined might of every world you've ever oppressed." Zarek's eyes widened in fear and awe. "You would wage war across the galaxy." "Not war," Dr. John corrected him. "Liberation." With a wave of her hand, Dr. Patel opened a portal in the air. Through it, they could see the Empire's capital world. "Go," she said to the spies. "Tell your leaders what you've seen here. And know this, for every world that asks for our help, we will answer. The age of the Empire is over. The age of freedom has begun." As the spies stepped through the portal, President Martinez turned to the assembled leaders. "And so, we make our stand," she said solemnly. "Not just for Earth, but for all free peoples of the galaxy." The leaders nodded in agreement. As one, they reached out their hands, channeling their newfound powers. A pulse of energy rippled out from Earth, spreading across the galaxy. It carried a simple message to every oppressed world. You are not alone. Help is coming. Freedom is within reach. The next chapter of humanity's cosmic journey was about to begin. The galaxy would never be the same again. 1 year had passed since Earth sent its ultimatum to the Galactic Empire. The galaxy was in turmoil, but it was a turmoil of hope and change. On a distant planet called Zor 7, a crowd gathered in the central square. They watched in awe as a sleek Earth ship descended from the sky. Dr. Zhang stepped out, her eyes glowing with the power of the precursors. "People of Zor 7, she announced, her voice translating instantly into the local language. "We bring you knowledge, freedom, and the power to shape your own destiny." Cheers erupted from the crowd. Zor 7 was the 100th world to be liberated from the Empire's control. One by one, oppressed planets were throwing off their chains and joining Earth's growing alliance of free worlds. Back on Earth, in the transformed United Nations building, now called the Galactic Cooperation Center, President Martinez stood before a holographic map of the galaxy. Blue lights representing liberated worlds were spreading like wildfire across the once red expanse of the Empire. "We're making progress," she said to Dr. Patel, who stood beside her. "But the Empire's core worlds are still resisting." Dr. Patel nodded gravely. "They're afraid. Change isn't easy, especially for those who've held power for so long." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the building. The holographic map zoomed in on Earth's solar system. A massive fleet of Imperial ships had just appeared near Mars. "They're making their move," President Lai said, rushing into the room. "The Empire is launching a desperate attack." In space, aboard the lead ship of Earth's defense fleet, General Wang watched as the Imperial Armada approached. He felt no fear, only a sense of sadness for the lives that would be lost in this unnecessary battle. "All ships, hold position," he commanded. "Let them make the first move." On the Imperial flagship, the Supreme Ruler stood, its multicolored skin pulsing with anger. "Fire all weapons," it ordered. wiped this upstart world from the galaxy. A barrage of energy beams and missiles streaked towards Earth. But just before they could strike, they simply vanished. In the Galactic Cooperation Center, Dr. Paddle stood with her arms raised, her body glowing with power. With a mere thought, she had transported the entire attack into a distant, empty region of space. Now, she said calmly, it's our turn. Across Earth, millions of humans joined hands. Children, adults, and elders all closed their eyes and focused their thoughts. A wave of pure energy rippled out from the planet, washing over the Imperial fleet. Aboard the ships, something extraordinary happened. Imperial soldiers and crew members suddenly froze. In their minds, they saw visions of peace, freedom, and a galaxy united in harmony. Centuries of Imperial propaganda and conditioning melted away in an instant. One by one, the Imperial ships powered down their weapons. The Supreme Ruler watched in disbelief as its mighty armada stood down without firing a single shot. What have you done? The ruler demanded, its voice trembling. President Martinez's voice echoed through every ship in the Imperial fleet. We've shown your people the truth. We've given them a choice. Across the galaxy, on every Imperial world, the same scene played out. People took to the streets, not in violence, but in celebration. The age of the Empire was over. In the following days, delegates from former Imperial worlds flooded to Earth. The Galactic Cooperation Center worked tirelessly to help new governments form, to distribute resources fairly, and to spread the knowledge of the precursors to all. 1 month after the Empire's failed attack, a new Galactic Senate convened for the first time. Representatives from thousands of worlds gathered to shape the future of their united galaxy. Dr. Paddle stood before them, her eyes shining not just with the power of the precursors, but with tears of joy. Today, she said, we begin a new chapter in galactic history. No more empires, no more conquest. From this day forward, we stand together as equals, as friends, as one galactic family. Cheers resonated throughout the Senate chamber and across countless worlds. A new era of peace, discovery, and cooperation had begun. As the celebration continued, Dr. Zhang approached President Martinez. So, she said with a smile, what's next? Martinez looked out at the stars twinkling in the night sky. The galaxy's a big place, she said. And beyond it, who knows? We have eternity to explore, to learn, to grow. Our journey is just beginning. And so, humanity, once a small, isolated species on a tiny blue planet, took its place as guardians of galactic peace. Earth, once a target for conquest, had become a beacon of hope for all civilizations. The warning had been heard. Earth was indeed off limits, not as a prize to be won, but as a friend to all, a protector of freedom across the stars.